Welcome to my channel. Today, part of the Break the Blank page, what comes next? So I'm down to the last 5 or 6 of the broken pages. I'll put a link in the iCard, top right hand corner, to where I break all these pages. Here is the page that I am going to finish today. This page was broken by putting a couple colors of paint and then removing paint through the Geo Netting Stencil. It's one of my favorites and it's a great stash builder. So I'm taking the colors from what was on the broken page. This is this bright aqua and Prussian blue. And I'm going to make some additional ephemera to use on the page. I love the colors, I love the patterning that's there, and I'm just going to use that as the jump start for the additional items. So what I'm doing here is I'm just painting plain copy paper. One is going to be bright aqua, the other one is going to be Prussian blue, and one I'm going to keep white. These colors work well together. They're a winning color combination if you want to do another page. And unlike most times where I'm blending colors because I want interest, here I want it plain because the background is interesting enough. So I'm really letting these dry because I'm going to use these punches and punch out some circles. If you don't have a punch, you can trace out circles and cut them. Then I'm going to be using this Flutter stamp set. It's a Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous stamp set. There's 10 stamps, butterfly stamps, and I'm going to use the Tim Holtz stamping platform to do that. And I'm just going to take off my butterflies and line them up on the lid. And I'm going to stamp out a whole bunch of them all at one time. I am probably the world's worst stamper, so this actually helps me get a dark enough stamp, and I want to get fairly dark, crisp stamps for these butterflies. In a bit, I'm going to show you what size these butterflies work well for. They're on the smaller side, but they're good for several different projects, and that's going to come up. So once you stamp it, I'm adding another layer of ink. This is archival ink. It's going to be permanent. And you can do it as many times as it takes to get a crisp, dark enough stamped image. I don't plan on using all 10, but I typically do more than I need. And then the rest become stash builders that I have on my desk and I can use for something else. So I've stamped out several and then I am just cutting them. Now you have two options. You could leave a little bit of white around it or you can cut right on the edge. And depending on what's going on in my background, I might do either or. Do what you like. You could also cut around the antenna or cut them off. I'm opting to cut them off, just making life simpler. So if you wanted to, you could be stamping out a bunch of butterflies. Just have a creative session where you're doing that, cutting them in front of the TV, and then it's at the ready to be used whenever you need them. Don't think that just because I'm doing this all in one sitting that that's what you have to do. Break it up into whatever you can. So here it is on this 3.5 by like these mini composition books. So the butterfly is the right size for that. It looks good on a 4x4 canvas, a 3x5. This is a 5x7. So, and my page is 5x7, and you can use multiple butterflies, and that's what I'm going to be using as well. So now I'm stamping or punching circles out. And I learned that if I do one piece of copy paper, my punch catches. It doesn't cut properly. But if I put 2 or more, I get perfectly cut out circles. Or if I'm cutting out thicker paper. So I note to self, I'll have to continue to do that. And I'm doing 3 sizes of circles. I think one is 2.5, 2 inches, and then 1 inch. And I'm punching again way more than I need, but I'm going to do the whole sheets. I struggle, this keeps getting caught in here. Some days the creative process doesn't go smoothly. I don't, I'm not a card maker and I'm not a stamper. So doing those kind of things, I just feel like almost like a duck out of water. It just feels very awkward. So now that I have all my elements, I am going to play with it on the page. I want multiple circles, and at this point I'm thinking I'm going to have some dark Prussian blue, bright aqua, and white, and then the butterflies. So I am just playing with the composition, seeing what looks good to the eye. How many butterflies, how many circles, what colors. And when I get something I like, I do stop, grab my phone, take a picture so I can remember it, and then come back to look at the pictures and come back to it. Some of these butterflies have pointy wings and some are more rounded, and I'm liking the ones that are rounded. They seem to go well with the circles. And then I want some variation in size. So that's what you see me doing, just kind of switching it up. Taking a picture of it allows you to see it from afar. So once you've done enough playing and really there's no right or wrong. There's just what looks good in that moment. Then I decide I'm going to grab this Sacred Geometry Stamperia stamp set and I'm going to add some stamps of this one that reminds me of the Geo Netting stamp stenciling in the background. It has a very similar feel to it. I'm going to do some aqua ones with black, and then I'm going to do some of the Prussian blue ones with white acrylic paint. And again, I'm experimenting. I don't know if I'm going one way or another. And I don't mind if I don't have a perfect stamp. That just adds to the interest on the page. Or at least that's what I tell myself. So here I'm just taking some white acrylic paint and spreading it out on my glass tabletop. And then I'm going to stamp into it with that Sacred Geometry circle stamp and do it on the black. I mean, on the Prussian blue. I'm really liking the white on the Prussian blue. I could have used other stamps to stamp on some of the other ones, a script stamp, something small scale though. So now that I have a little bit of a different design element, I'm going to again play with the composition and see what I like, what I don't like. And then I'll just edit out and make some final decisions. But I left this all in so that you could see it is basically trial and error. And I'm very visual. I have to see it, I have to try it out, look at it. I'm subbing out certain colors, just back and forth. So once I'm happy, I'm grabbing my fluid matte medium and I'm just gluing the elements down. At different times, the paint hasn't been totally cured, and so I'm wiping off my brush so that I don't get, especially those white circles, discolored. You'll see me grab a baby wipe and wipe it back because some of the paint bled because it's not fully cured. And yes, some of these circles end up in slightly different spaces, so there'll be some readjusting as we go. It ain't over till it's over. So this is very simple, but it's very effective. The circles add to it. This is like a super easy page. Anybody can cut a circle out and you can make a page that's interesting and has texture and pattern. So now that I've got everything positioned, I also went to my sentiments and I'm working on a Wings and Things sentiment pack. And this is one of the quotes that I had. Fly, FLY, stands for First Love Yourself. Love that. I thought that was such a lovely quote. And it seemed to fit perfectly on here. So I've got 4 butterflies and the sentiment makes number 5. And you'll see that I've added another one of those dark blue sentiment or circles with the white stamping on it. And I'm not happy with where that white is ending up, so I'm just putting a dark blue circle over top. This is where I'm tweaking the composition now that we're in the final stages. And I realize I have this one white circle left. I end up taking all of them out except for that one. So I'll deal with it. So I'm taking all the circles that I stamped and that I cut, and I'm going to store them with the stamps in these A5 plastic envelopes. I love these. I store so much of my stuff in them. I'll put a link to them in the description box. There I go. I'm covering up that one lone white circle. It just looked out of place. Now, after everything's dry, I'm cutting off the excess and I'm going to just finish this page. And these finishing stages, they always make a difference. I'm using the shading technique with black acrylic paint, and I'm going around the circles, and then I'm also going to shade the butterflies. And you can see as I keep going with this, the difference that it makes. It just adds depth to the page. And it brings out the circles. It makes some of these elements pop and stand off from the background. Here I'm shading on the butterflies, and that's really making the butterflies stand out. These stamps, they're so intricate. There's so much detail there. They really are a work of art. I just want them bigger. But when I use them, I will use multiples like on here, or I will create on smaller substrates, 4x4, 5x7s. or beef up the focal image with, like I did here with circles. I'm grabbing my Posca paint pens, my black and my white, and I'm going to do some dash and some line work, some doodling. Some I put dashes on, and then some I'm going to just do straight or just solid lines, I guess. And this stands out all the more because of the black shading that I already did. I'm outlining with the black Posca pen around the sentiment just to make it stand out. Do a little doodling on the butterflies. Now I'm doing kind of stitching around the outside edge, and then I'm going to add a white dot in between the stitching, the black stitching. Close-ups are coming up. Give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Ask me a question. Until next time, go get creative.